NightWatchman. How you doing, buddy? Did you have a good
I'm good. And
week?
you?
Good, very good. So I understand that you got a few things
Yeah.
going on.
It's. Oh,
You're actually, I understand, going to be popping to a few other things that you're going to be hosting. You got an active evening tonight, huh? Doing your thing, okay? Well, you know
um.
what?
Yeah. No rest for the weary.
None at all, none at all. So you know what I want to do? I want to talk about beer because I'm a late bloomer to this thing in terms of even
Hmm.
my consumption, but I don't really know the history and also in terms of when I was in college, I didn't see a whole lot of let's say black folk ordering kegs, you know. So I just want to know about let's say
Hmm.
blacks who choose that particular space. What's their journey? That's what I want to know. What about you?
Well, when you were in college, they only had one type of beer. It was either cold. Well, actually, two types. It was either cold or warm. And now we've gotten to the point where we have craft brews. There's a whole culture and community around the making and crafting of beers, and so we brought along the experts today.
Okay. So you know what? Let's get to it. What do you say? So this
Let's
first
do it.
guest, she is the director of Tavern Operations for Full Stream Brewery in Charlotte, North Carolina. Bring out Miss Ariane Sanders. Ari, how
Hey,
you doing?
hey, Curtis. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be today.
Well, if you have a good cold one, no matter what time it is, you're having a good time. That's for sure.
Yeah,
You
good
know,
afternoon to you both.
Back.
How's it going?
Good. Our
Great.
next guest is the founder and president of a brand that, trust me, being from this community, you're going to know Harlem Blue, Mr. Julian Riley. Bring him up. Julian,
Yes, sir.
what do you got there? You got some
Yeah,
Harlem
no,
Blue
that's
there or
a
what?
little
What
bit
are
of
you
the other
consuming?
stuff, but yes, good to see you, brother. It's a pleasure to see you.
Likewise, man. Another one, as a matter of fact, you actually know this place quite well because you live around the corner. And I'm talking about the co owner of Harlem Hops, it's the Kevin Bradford. Bring him out. Kevin, all right. How you doing, buddy? It's been a while. But you know what? I have to thank Ari for this because immediately this brother and I we hit it off and it was like this. Where have you been? Where have you been all this time? Also hailing from Charlotte, he is the general manager of Sugar Creek Brewing Company. None other than and he's a musician. But you know what? He says retired, but you never retire from playing music and making music. Okay? He's a pianist who has multiple pianos in his home. Mr. Marques Nash. Marcus.
Cool. What's going on, y'all?
Morning.
Yes,
Happy to
sir.
be here.
All right. So I don't know if you guys heard my intro in terms of let's say blacks and beer and the whole journey.
Mhm.
I want to actually hear from you guys in terms of your journey. How did you get into the space? Ari, you've been on Soul Lounge Primetime before. Do tell. Tell us
Uh,
your journey.
so for myself, when I left insurance and went into bartending, I was like, all right, I'll go out and have a couple beers. You always drank whatever. You went to whatever bars were open and gave you good service in the evening. And I remember the first craft beer I ever had. I was at a Fox and Hound concept called Bailey's. It's like, sports bar, pool hall kind of spot. It's super corporate. And there's this beer with a Christmas tree on the label. And it was
Mm.
Anchor Steam Merry Christmas, Happy New Year 2001. And yes, this beer was 2 years old, but I drank it and was like, this is not like anything I've ever had. And I used to be a martini drinker, but if you're gonna watch football, you really can't start at like 12:30 and drink dirty martinis all day. You're gonna have a bar tab that you regret. The bar I was working at was doing like cheap people. Like I'll just drink beer, whatever. I can sit with my buddies and pretty much slowly drink all day and have like a $40 bar tab instead of 120. And so that's kind of how I started in the craft beer, and as my career in the food and beverage industry progressed. There was a corporate restaurant near the job I worked at, and they did all North Carolina drafts on Thursdays. And it was like $2 for a 12 ounce.
Mm.
We're talking back like, 2012, 2013, like very early North Carolina craft beer. And I would just go there every night and like I'd have one of everything. Like, okay, I like this one, I don't like this one. And I started taking notes. I got super interested in it. And when that bar closed, the general manager at the time moved into a distributor. And we just kept in touch, and ended up in the running for a general manager job at a startup brewery out in Hillsborough, North Carolina, Mystery Brewing Company, RIP, But that was my first bar gig in craft beer, and stuck with it, loved it. I'm a natural nerd. I'm naturally curious. And I just learned and learned. It was quite the spot for me. I think a glass of beer, the right beer with the right food is a better pairing than wine. Meat eats grain. So like I'm very into beer pairings and the foodie experience. I think craft beer gives me more of a foodie experience than wine does, and that's kind of how I got with it, stuck with it, and just loved it. And here I am at Full.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, you know what? Julian coming there from Beantown, no less. And I never rooted for you guys, just so you know, full disclosure. but do tell your journey, because I understand that your family had one of the oldest jazz clubs in the town. So do tell your journey.
Yeah, and I'll start by agreeing with you that it's hard to root for Boston. So I'm with you. We have our challenges well documented. And nowadays, a little further disclosure, most people who know me know this. I'm all New York now. I've lived in New York longer, and I roll with the Yankees, the Knicks, and I have my problems with football a little bit. I'm an old head, so I'm a Dallas fan.
Wow.
So Boston is what it is. And my family still has a jazz club in Boston. So Wiley's Jazz Cafe has been there since 1946, landmark. And so my great uncle came over from Barbados. Joseph Walcott started Wiley's, and then my great grandfather came also from Barbados and started a furniture moving company, Riley and Sons, and then it became Magnolia Movers. And I worked with the furniture moving company as a teen, and even through college a little bit, and then so I was always around. The bar was more of a spot that we would sneak bottles out the back and trying to get our party on. But what I think that it did lead to my overall story in that I've always been a social creature, which is a nice way of saying that I like to party and kind of get down and hang out with people. And I do believe that the bar is the most democratic place on the planet. You can put any of us anywhere, and you can start a conversation with somebody over a drink and some good energy. So that's really what I think is my natural draw to it. I often say I was inspired by the phrase of combining my love of craft and community, and that's really where my Harlem Blue venture began. I came to New York in the early 90s. I practiced law for about 8 years. So I was a contracts attorney, a lot of film and media stuff. I repped a few artists down in Soho and really enjoyed all of that. But it was a little too transactional for me. And I was looking for a way to marry my love of beer and kind of the social elixir that it is and kind of creating that handshake. So that's really where it started. And I found out I just was tired of Brooklyn having all the fun. I thought we could rock with something in Harlem, and I wanted to really own some stuff. Trying to tailor my language so I don't say nothing crazy on here. So there were a couple things that led to my inspiration, including that Harlem had more breweries before Prohibition than I thought we got credit for. There were 5 to 7 breweries in Harlem. Back in the day, depending on kind of how you count and who you ask. And then there was a cool story, the Blue Light story, that if anyone wants to check out is easy to find on our website. But I was just sort of inspired by the pride of creating your own beer and saying, yo, come drink this and let's socialize, let's fellowship. So that's really the roots for Harlem Blue. I just entrenched myself as a lawyer would, and just really studied the game and spent a few years just learning all of the history of Harlem and brewing and talking to a whole bunch of people. And then we launched, we're contract brewing locally. We've found a location that we're going to build out for for at least a tap room and some other stuff here in Harlem. And, I'm all in on Harlem and in Harlem Blue, and we've been having a lot of fun.
Beautiful, beautiful. And go traveling back to North Carolina. Marques, you got to tell me the journey, man, especially as a musician. I mean, what got you into beer? Boy, wait, were you drinking while performing, or no, you don't do the two? Do tell.
Oh, every single night. I think that's easily what got me into craft beer for sure. I think I started off drinking Guinness. It was a ritual. Every first beer before every show, I'd take a shot of Jack in the middle, and then I'd close with another Guinness.
How you do it?
Kind of to recharge myself. But no, that seriously, every venue that I would pop into, traveling up and down the East Coast, I got to see what very, very new, this was like a decade ago, what new beer looked like, what fun new craft beer looked like. I got back to Charlotte, and I say happily retired because that life is exhausting. I got to rest. I started running a couple restaurants. I know that doesn't make much sense because running a restaurant, there is literally no rest in that. But that's when I got to start bringing in a bunch of different brands throughout the Carolinas, and I got to start carrying other people's beer. I was running multiple Mellow Mushrooms at the time. And if anybody knows anything about Mellow Mushroom, they carry like 35 different drafts. We try to keep it different at every location. And I did. I loved it there. And I got sharked out by Sugar Creek Brewing Company. The guys loved my energy. They loved, I checked off a lot of boxes for them as far as being able to brand things, having ideas, and then bringing music to the table. Like this was a place that was really trying to make music important as well in their craft. And I was able to bring that in for them. So it's crazy now working for now a master Cicerone. And I look back a decade ago and I was chugging Guinness and Jack Daniels religiously before I touched a single key.
Excellent, excellent. Kevin, do tell us your journey, especially going to a historical black college, right?
Yes.
Finding two women who also shared the passion. I mean,
Okay.
and also once I discovered it, I said, where have you been all my life? So do tell the journey, man.
Oh man. Well, hometown's Detroit, Michigan. I've been here in New York since 2002. I have yet to hang up my Detroit hat. Yet I've always the Lions, Tigers, Pistons.
Wow.
My granddad always told me, you don't pick the team picks you. So that's where I'm born. That's the team I support.
Well, I love me some Dave Bing. I do love some Dave Bing, but go ahead.
But yeah. So Hampton, I can remember back in the college days, we were always, my little crew, we would experiment with some of the, back then it wasn't really craft beer. It was like a lot of import beer. This is like 88, 87. So I'm dating myself, guys. Yes. Hampton Roads area. So, and I think you mentioned, you guys mentioned that not that many blacks, or in your experience, not many blacks was really into beer, but that's something we loved. Always wanted to try something different. And my love of beer just continued just to grow from there. Just like I want to find a new freshness. What are these guys doing? A brewery. Oh wow, just making their own brew. Wow, that's amazing. That's it's a craft I really respect. Just working with your hands. Just making this beverage just from malts, hops and whatnot. So it's a great thing. But moving here to New York in the early 2002, 2003, 2000, it wasn't really, New York was really known for craft beer. So I would, I know I would have to search high and run back and forth to Michigan, bring in stuff back, Bell's Brewing, Shorts Brewing. That was, those are two of the larger breweries in Michigan now. But I would, I would bring beer back from Detroit, Michigan when I went home to visit my parents. But I always had a dream of just really wanting to have a craft beer spot. I remember it was a spot in Brooklyn called Beer Craft, and that was like Right now, it's kind of spawned a lot of the people who are brewing now. Like when I go to these different breweries, Finback, Other Half, Interborough, and a lot of the guys who are working there own these companies started at the beer craft, and so that was the place where you can get the proper craft beer. But as Julian mentioned before, it wasn't really in Harlem. You couldn't really find the proper craft beer here in Harlem. I kind of played around the idea, talked about it. And my wife was like, "Why don't you quit talking about it? Just get it done." So I was like, "Oh, okay, okay, well, there it is."
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So just real fast forward, real quick. I wanted to open the Harlem Hops. I wanted to open, but then it wasn't Harlem Hops. So I just had a dream of having a craft beer bar here in Harlem. I wanted to open in my downstairs unit, garden apartment. And I went through the process of trying to get the C of O changed from residential to commercial. Now
That's a process. That's a process.
That's a process there. And this and during this time, this is probably like around 2015, 16, around that time. 2014. I heard of another couple in Harlem trying to do the same thing. I was like, oh man, another black couple. They beat me to the punch. Wow, I can't believe this. And lo and behold, my partner now, Kim, was that other. Kim.
Oh
here,
wow!
She
Wow!
was the other. She would her partner was the other group trying to start trying to bring craft beer to Harlem. I started craft beer bar in Harlem. Her partner dropped out, and I met her 2016, I believe, September. And Harlem Hops is here, So it was she already had all the workings, the liquor license ready to go. She just needed the financial backing and somebody come in with the knowledge who knows beer, and it was a perfect fit. And Harlem needed this. That's it, guys. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. You know what? So one doesn't necessarily think about, let's say, North Carolina for brewing. At least I didn't. So Marques and Ari, and especially Marques, you got to tell me about the Sugar Creek's Minority Scholarship. What specifically is that for?
Yeah, I think we're going to be on the hunt again in the fall. I got to walk into my boss's office and I said, "It's time we do something that really matters, something that I know that would sustain my joy for at least another 50 years, and we can bring in a young person of color, and let them kind of choose their destinies. What we did in this first turn around, and look, we're either training you how to own and operate your own potential brewery.
Wow.
We'll teach you how to be a general manager to run an operation, or we'll teach you how to be a head brewer. And that's the focused path that we let a person choose on that little line of their destiny. It was successful the first time. Lachey, she's now with Blue Blaze Brewing Company. We're going to do it here again. I think we've received like 10 applications. And again, I work for Joe Vogelbacher. It's a lot of people fighting with kill to train underneath the Master Cicerone. So it's nice to have that backing, because we do really receive a lot of candidates who just kind of want to soak up all his knowledge.
Okay. Ari?
So right now I'm one of the board members for the Many Faces Initiative Scholarship Program. And what we do is we create funding for paid internships. So we have as many breweries as we can afford to fund interns for. We have the breweries apply to host an intern, and we open applications for interns. And we pair the interns with the breweries that we think are the best fit for them. So basically, I've helped Brian Finn of Town Brewing. Marques is also on the board with me. Lachey's on the board as well. And the idea is just, what do I leave behind? I went to PWI, Show Heels or whatever, but what do I do to look like me? I've had an insane amount of privilege. I've had a great village in charge of getting me where I want to be in my life. And so what can I leave behind? How do I share my opportunities with other people? How do I create gateways? How do I build safe spaces? How do I become a part of the cultural shift that keeps craft beer from being very homogenous? It's been very homogenous and white male for quite some time. I'm in the Pink Boot Society. A lot of the same work is being done to give women more inroads into craft beer. And like for me, I'm here for my people right now. We're Black and Crafty, Hops and Brews, Craft Beer Connect. I'm spread a little bit thin, but it's important to me to see myself reflected when I go into a tap room. I was said to a friend of mine who's older white lady, she's like 64 this year. I said to her, I was like, the amount of time I've been into a space where I was the majority of my life, that I didn't actively say, I'm going to go to this thing to make sure I get some Black people time. I feel like probably 24 hours my whole life. So what can I do to make the career path I've chosen more inclusive so that when I walk into a room, I'm not the only Black person? I've been doing that since high school.
Yeah.
I've been doing that since Scouts. I've been doing that since scholarship applications. I've been doing that since AP classes. And now I'm ready to walk into a room that's more reflective of the beautiful diversity of America.
Absolutely. And you know what? Speaking of that Julian, in terms of you setting up your brand and everything, did you get some coaching, some intel from, let's say, owners like, let's say, even Steve Hendy, Brooklyn Brewery, and others? Well, tell us about how, let's say, did you get some technical assistance to set up Harlem Blue? What was it like?
My fault. I didn't know if I was holding the mute or you were holding the mute.
Yeah.
The short answer is yes, 100%. Steve Hendy in particular, I consider kind of an early brand godfather. Nothing was formal, of course. I'm a relatively social dude, and I'll be right on the border of pestering you to death. So I went around talking to everybody, right? So I just have always and continue to this day, because I think that, especially being a small entrepreneur, and kind of the value proposition really is being nimble and ear to the ground and all of that, and organic. And as a minority beer owner, I think that part of our secret special sauce is that connectivity to the streets, especially in urban environments. The whole purpose for me starting Harlem Blue was to broaden the category, make it more approachable, and bring in a more diverse consumer base than what kind of was the assumption for craft beer, with air quotes, back in the day. So in talking to people like Steve, Hindi, and just sort of hearing, and sometimes it's what they don't say, just the way that they're almost surprised. It's the equivalent of saying, "Oh, you really talk very good," type of thing. Like you can feel people, and everybody on this call has felt that, where people are surprised that you know some stuff, or that you can put together full sentences. So I take that as a recognition of sort of some of the magic that we have that's untapped. And so I was able to build off of taking sort of the basic building blocks that you need to know about everything, and then putting our own kind of bounce to it. So Steve in particular was very good, but just like small, I joined maybe 3 home brewer clubs all around the city, and just listening to cats, and just sort of being around, going on brewing tours, and just listening. And I think that's one of the strongest skills that I personally continue to try and work on. I think it's a part of my self-awareness journey, is just the art of listening, and just sort of, you don't always have to be talking, just listening and kind of pulling it in. I think that I've considered that very important. But yeah, so Steve Hendy was really good.
Beautiful. And Kevin, certainly having a few Black brewers in the let's say in the whole country or whatever, knowing that of course you keep a Harlem Blue up in there. Any other Black brewers that you keep on your shelves?
Yes, funny you asked that. I had a meeting yesterday with one of the brewers at the other half. Her name is Breeze, and she is from Central America.
Mm-hmm.
And she, one of the things she mentioned, she wants to meet, Kim. She wants to meet Stacy, my partner.
Mm-hmm.
She wants that camaraderie, and that's what it's like for myself. It's a white man's industry,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel when it's someone else who like Julian, he has his own Harlem Blue. He's a black man doing this, and I feel comfortable doing business with this brother. I feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
doing business with another bar over in Brooklyn, Beer Wax.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brother over there. He owns that. It's good to feel be with the people your people. You're building with your people. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a very comforting thing, and I'm real proud of these guys. And I will always and that's one of the most challenging things that in open Harlem Hops. One of the most challenging things was what has been finding black owned companies to
Mm-hmm.
support food, liquor.
Mm-hmm.
That's a challenge. And but we find it. We go above beyond duty to get them in our bar. Harlem Blue,
Mm-hmm.
Hackensack Brewing,
Mm-hmm.
Four City Brewing, Montclair Brewing. Those are breweries in this area that are
Mm-hmm.
black owned or part black owned.
Mm-hmm.
Liquor, as you guys know, Uncle Nearest.
Oh yes.
Another liquor we just started, bourbon, which is a Tennessee whiskey. Another black a company, owned company we just started carrying is Burrow Brothers, which is three brothers from Louisville.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They just opened their own brick and mortar distillery in Louisville, I think a week ago. So
Mm-hmm.
we have food products, Guma meat pies. This brother is from
Mm.
Senegal, who's based in Woodbridge, Virginia, right outside of DC. So
Mm-hmm.
just just searching high and low to get black and brown
Mm-hmm.
on breweries. First Borough is a young cats, like 32, 33,
Mm-hmm.
out in Mount Vernon, New Rochelle area.
Okay.
Who's just started their brewery. They're I think they're also brewing it. They have their side brewery, but I think they also have they work at I think Diner Beer Company, which is in New Rochelle. Just finding, that's a challenge, but that's why we're here. That's why we're here in Harlem. You come to Harlem. I was at District 96 out in New City. They're great. They do great beer out there. I was talking with a brother, and who loves craft beer, and he was saying, he was saying, I go to these places, just I see a bunch of white faces. I'm kind of like the only brother here. I said, we need to visit Harlem Hops because it's totally, it's like totally, so, but it's but we have all types coming in there. We have white, black, LGBTQ. Everyone is. I think Julian summed it up by saying the bar is a nice democratic spot where everyone can just come and just share a beer and tell their story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And you know what? In North Carolina, I want to know about in each of your companies their focus and really embrace of diversity and inclusion in that space. Do tell.
I'll let you lead, Ari.
I mean, for me, you gotta walk what you talk. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's not like, oh, we're hiring. We put it just on our social media. I make sure I repost myself. When you walk into my brewery, I have three, I have two African American bartenders. I have an
Mm-hmm.
African American person on our packaging team. I'm African American. I have a biracial bartender. And so when you come in, you see it in our hiring practices. You know, a lot of our kitchen staff are people of color. And so, but it's not like, oh, people don't apply here all the time, people don't apply. Are you posting your listing where people are looking?
Yeah.
Whenever we have a job listing, I post on all the Black and brown people craft groups I'm in on Facebook. I don't go on Facebook other than to post jobs, you know? Um, all the like Preferable Connect, all these like wonderful people of color who are entering in beer as beer influencers. I send our listings over to them so they can re-amplify and get those voices in place. Like I make sure we're looking for particularly technical positions. I make sure we post at NCANT, North Carolina Central University, these wonderful historically Black college universities that are right in our backyard, that are putting out gifted engineers, gifted communicators, gifted marketing people. So you have to intentionally go and seek people out versus waiting for people to come to you if you're sincere about diversity. On top of that, when you walk into my tap room, like, you know, one thing I love about what Marques is doing at Sugar Creek, you go in there for music, it's not just a white dude with a guitar, because Americana and that type of music is a $50 night for live music. I go get a jazz singer with a full band. And you put money where your mouth is, right? You know, if I walk into a bar and hear the Eagles one more time, you know,
Hey, I like the Eagles. I like the Eagles.
I like the Eagles. You know what I mean, right? Like when you say people are welcome, how do you say that they're welcome? You make inviting spaces for them. Like, you know, play some different types of music. Part of why I started coming to Full Steam before I started working here, Friday and Saturday night, the bartenders, they happened to be white men, but they were really into hip hop. Always playing, you know, Run the Jewel. They're always playing Wu Tang. They're playing like they're playing like Biz Marquee, old school rap, you know. And so I was like, when I get off work, I want to go listen to that music. I don't want to go listen to the same like pop I've been listening to all day at the bar I was working at. And so it made it very welcoming to me and sitting to me. You are culturally welcome here. We might be different skin, but we have this thing in common, you know. So it felt very democratic. One of the first things I did when I took the position as director of operations, I took the filters off our music stations. You know, the owner filtered and curated our Pandora to the point where we could only play certain stations, and it wasn't intentional. But he played music that he liked and was comfortable with, and that's what he wanted to listen to. But he was definitely not. There was not a Wu Tang station. Kids playing that music back when they were, but they were going out their way to do so. But I'm like, put it on the Pandora. Like, come on, I have a Griselda station. You know, I tell my staff, like, you know when to play that and when not to play that. You know what I mean? Like, play that at 9 o'clock, but play it, you know.
Read the audience. You got it.
You know, play Armandi, play Tiana Taylor, like play the music that lets people know this place is playing my soundtrack. And it's so simple and it's so quickly overlooked.
Absolutely.
All your walls. Is all your walls all white people? So what are you saying about what you think is beautiful in a space?
Gotcha.
So you got to set the tone.
For sure. And you know what? So Kevin, I'm going to give you some props here because last time we were hanging in there with Ari's mom's, Audrey, and the soundtrack was banging. We just felt, you know, it wasn't over loud. It was just right. And we sat in there. And of course, the bites were to die for. So good job, baby. Good job. And certainly, Marques, you had mentioned that your boss was also kind of embracing in terms of your vision, you know, in terms of really wanting diversity and inclusion. So do tell.
Yeah, he was kind of, so it's tricky to phrase this the correct way. Because a lot of people want to jump on the diversity train because it's hot, what's in.
Right.
And you can kind of read a person and tell if this is really something that's core to their heart or if they're just doing it so they don't get executed. It was easy to tell from the beginning that I was celebrated as a human being before things got really dark in this country. I was allowed to run free and be creative and make every call before and back then. So I always thought that was really beautiful. Now, if you want your place to be more diverse. You can't just like say it and do it online. You actually have to put the action behind it. And when you do that, the diversity comes to you. When we look at applicants who are now applying for Sugar Creek, the men, women, brown, yellow, they're coming and running to us because they've come into our tap room. They've felt our energy. They've felt our vibe.
Nice.
Like, oh my God, there is someone everywhere that looks like me doing their own thing. And it is more than just the Eagles playing on in the background. As a musician, like my playlist, they're all built. There's probably 17, and they're built for moods throughout the day. And people forget that music is probably the most powerful influencer on a human body. So you have to pay attention to music. I'm working on an essay now with my wife, who's a writer. Is how music and beer literally they work together. How beer to me tastes like notes. And how notes follow different profiles. So on a music theory chart, I'm going to be able to break down how an IPA will fall in the categories of C, D, or E. And I'm going to figure out what music, how beer tastes like different music to different people. So I've been working on this. Hopefully it'll be a book, but we're giving about a year and a half, and I'll have more information. I always take on these really overwhelming projects. I'll follow through because I'm a tourist, but it's going to be a whole journey. But no, they trust me at Sugar Creek, so I trust those guys, and I'll literally go into battle and fight for them to the end of the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I saw you kind of like vibing a little bit. Julian, do tell. What's going on?
Let me unmute. I was, giving little soul claps for all of those comments. I think it was all what we need to hear. It's, we all know we need to be active in our own rescue. We just got to grab a shovel and do that work. So I love hearing that. Marques, please make sure you keep all of us on that list for that music and beer joint. That sounds fantastic. But yeah, I think that there's, for some of us that are older heads on this call, it's good to see what I didn't see 15, 20 plus years ago. Maybe just that we weren't aged into it, but just a more collective effort. Obviously, the 60s and 70s are most known for some of that energy. But when I sit down with old Panthers here in Harlem and just sort of or talking with old heads and what they went through in those days, that each one teach one, each one help one, and like that, I think that's so important, and to recognize that there's a broader spectrum and that we can co-enjoy is just beautiful to hear.
Nice, nice. You know what? I had started off kind of saying that, let's say, when I went to college, I didn't go to, let's say, historical black college or university. I went to a place where literally when there were kegs ordered, it wasn't us. So, Kevin, you got to tell me. So when you were at school, you guys were ordering kegs, man? What was up?
Yeah, we were at Hampton. You get the HBCU, so we and that wasn't it really wasn't a thing to have, kegs, but yeah, that we were ordering kegs. We think, oh my goodness, my Moose Head.
Kegs are cheaper too.
Yeah.
Nice.
My goodness, you guys are. I'm trying to think of another brand, but yes. Yeah, we did order the kegs. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm often thinking, let's say black college. Okay, the kegs, yeah, that's secondary, but okay, we got the stuff like Hennessy and remember. Oh, you did?
Yeah, you'd be surprised, right? I guess everybody loves beer, no matter who.
Very, very, very true. So, and I also want to kind of know, Kevin, because certainly in a community like Harlem, you had some spots that definitely are no longer here. Remember, we had Beer International. You had you even had Beer Straza on 12th Avenue, right? Mm-hmm. So you are absolutely still standing, and you're standing coming out of this pandemic. What has your experience been there at Harlem Hops, man? Do tell.
Well, to speak on the pandemic, we only closed one day. If you remember, March 16th, that's Sunday, and we had a packed house. I
Wow.
was sitting at the end of the bar just looking like, man, these cats don't care about COVID. They just dancing. I was like, wow. I feel it did. Como was like, New York City shut down that I think that evening. So Monday we were closed. From there, we just went to the mindset of, okay, what are we going to do now? Okay, we're delivering and we're doing takeout. And the next day, Tuesday, we reopened and had my bike. And I was just ride, cycling all throughout New York City, I would say Harlem, to deliver beer. And
Wow.
during that time, a lot of breweries stopped. It's just, and real quick, one thing that in this industry that I would say pissed me off was a lot of the white bars downtown would get the pickings of the best kegs, pickings of the best beer. And then we would find out maybe a week later. I said, well, how come we weren't offered this? So how come we can't get these premier kegs? But during COVID, I think now it's we're actually getting a lot of these premier kegs now. But
nice.
But back to what I was saying, the breweries they started canning the beer. They weren't kegging the beer, but the profit margin, you get a greater profit margin from kegs. So we always want to focus in on the kegs. And we were crowlering. A crowler is it's like a can. It's like you can get your draft ready to go. We'll just fill the crowler, cap it off, and it's ready to go home. You can drink at your leisure. And that was that. I believe the crowlers is the one thing that really kept us pushing along during COVID. And Harlem was very supportive. We had our regulars coming by. Instead of our regulars coming by to get maybe 2 or 3 pints, they were, in an hour's time span, we were selling crowlers, that same customer, 2 or 3 crowlers at a higher price at a shorter time span. So that we were only open for like 2 to 8, I believe, from I think was the first part of COVID. I think that was the regulations. If you guys remember, we had most bars and restaurants. Well, if you were doing takeout delivery, most restaurants, bars, whatever, had to close at 8. But that was that was what we kind of did to survive. And Harlem was very supportive, and that's one thing. Harlem for keeping us floating. I think one of our biggest sellers was Harlem Blue. We couldn't keep it in the store or in the bar.
Well, so I want to understand in terms of beer terminology. So I remember coming into Harlem Hops during the lockdown, and anybody can weigh in on this. So I saw going from the tap, putting it into a can, and then actually topping it off. Is that that's a crowler? Okay. So that is it. Thank you. So, was that a new machine specifically during the particular time of the lockdown, or had you already had it? Because I had.
We actually had it, but a lot of our customers thought it was a prop or a demo. And we actually, I would say maybe in a regular, just not pre-COVID, we might have sold maybe 1 to 2 crowlers every week, and I was surprised.
Wow.
So we actually we ran out of crowlers, and we ran out of crowlers. We were on a 6-week. We was on a 6-week hold. I guess they had us on a 6-week waiting list, and a couple breweries donated crowlers to us. Brick City up in New Jersey and Hudson Valley up in Beacon, and we're still doing great business with those guys. Just it's a tight knit community. They were like, hey, you got our product. We want you guys to stay in business. So here, come by, pick up whatever you need. And and that got us by until we got the proper delivery within those 6 weeks. So, yep.
Beautiful. North Carolina, how did you guys hold up during, of course, the lockdown? How did you have to pivot?
It was fun. So we actually made national news. We didn't have to. We wanted to. We made a bunch of beer. We made 1,400 kegs of new beer that was getting ready to go out to all of our restaurants, all of our bars, everybody who carries us here in both Carolinas. And then the world stopped. Then the world shut down, and we had all this beer with no home. So we sold it back to the people. We sold the kegs half off, but we held on to $100 security deposit. People don't understand that floats as like a temporary loan for us to hold tight to our staff, because it takes 3-4 months for a good drinker to blow through a 50-liter keg. So that's $100 we're sitting on. You sell 1,400 of those. Was it some of the hardest work I've ever done in my life? Yeah. I probably physically loaded 800 of those kegs myself. But we did. We sold it back to the people, and everyone in the Carolinas from both drove up to support and to fight for us. And I don't know how it would have worked out if we didn't have so much backing and support from the people. Like, they for real stepped up. And to mention the crowlers again, we would sell like a crowler a day, but during lockdown, I was slinging 75 to 100 crowlers in 3 hours. Our machine got a workout, the little engine that could, and it fought for us. So we finally got to upgrade this one because we broke the other one in all sorts of pieces. But yeah, man, selling these kegs back to the people, which isn't legal in a lot of other states. So we were actually kind of blessed here in Charlotte being able to have that option. And we were I think we did it, and then one other brewery right up the road for us did it for a weekend. But yeah, it was pretty ballsy we have probably 120 kegs still floating out there in purgatory. We'll way home at some point. But yeah, we got most of the kegs back and got most of our beer back in the restaurants. But man, that was the scariest time and probably the wildest and most fun I've had in a long time. But man, it was freaky.
Wow. Ari, do tell. Full steam.
So because we have a full restaurant, we were able to not close. The crazy part though, we had the restaurant closed for 3 months for a massive upfit. We went from induction burners to a grill, a hood, a flat top, and we started getting restrictions the week our grand open of our kitchen week. So that was crazy. But I saw it coming. I knew it was bound to happen. I'm like, okay, the UK is locking down. We're gonna lock down. So our HR department, we were very ready. We knew, okay, we know we're going to be open in this way for these hours. So as soon as they flipped the switch, we were ready. So we didn't have to shut down at all because I just planned for it. I'm not going to be a doomsday person. I'm very much like, it would be asinine to not be ready for this. So we went to go only, cut hours quite a bit. But tons of crowlers went out. The funny thing, our crowler machine wasn't working, but we do can on site. So, customers were just going crazy, picking up cases. And we put a lot of our kegs on discount as well. We had we had just released 3 beers a week before, planning to send them out all over the state. And not so much. So, we were $50 kegs for your kegerator. I had a 2-step kegerator. I'm like, well, this is fine. A lot of other breweries doing the same thing. So I drank a lot of delicious North Carolina craft beer for very reduced prices over the summer. But just pivoting to go only curbside. We tried delivery. We didn't really see the market there for delivery. So I think people just hadn't really gotten used to us having food yet because we'd had the kitchen closed for so long. The timing was horrid. Our kitchen had been open for literally a week and then we locked down. We locked down on my 40th birthday.
Oh, wow.
5 p.m. on the day I was supposed to be, somewhere in Europe, having some craft beer. I was making sure I was inside my door at 5 p.m. So that was a little personal challenge. But, we got through it because we're a production facility. Our production team kept brewing, kept packaging. We already had the beer in the tank. It had to go somewhere. And so our can, we started selling a ton of cans. Obviously, not the same volume or the same margin as selling draft, but we got through it as a company. We were prepared financially to be the front of the line for PPP and idle and restaurant recovery loans and all those things. That was just really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
About 4 weeks ago, the last of my staff members that I laid off came back to work for me. So we're back at
Oh, beautiful.
everyone who didn't physically move away. I did have 2 people physically move away. Everyone else came back to work, and so they're back at their old hours, old schedules. You know, we're still not the numbers we wanted to see, but we
Mm-hmm.
are actually back like pretty close to 2019 right now.
Perfect, perfect. And Julian, now one of the things, I've always come to you because I did definitely love Harlem Blue out of the can, which you say has been a challenge to really get mass produced. Tell us that experience, and why is it so hard to get that mass produced?
What's the short answer on that? So
Mm-hmm.
the way I went into it, this is a medium answer, but I think that if I'm honest, part of it is me being my legal background where I measure 5 times to cut once. So there were certain things that I wanted to see as far as volumes with the draft before I wanted to do the cans. And I wanted to, because we're using a co-packer, I wanted those numbers to be right. So on the business side was kind of getting that part right. And we had it ready going into the end of 2019 for the first quarter in 2020. And it literally got pushed back from February production to March, and then the wheels fell off with the pandemic. And there was also an aluminum can shortage that we've been sort of fighting through. And then we just sort of rejiggered during 2020 with the challenges and our production setup, and we actually changed it for the way that we want to do our cans and the way that we want to do all of our rollouts. So it's certainly been an exercise in patience. But I'm a relatively persistent and patient person as long as I can make it work in my head. So we've just kept our numbers the way we wanted them. And even though the market is wanting us to get it going, it'll happen soon, maybe even very soon. But so we've just had to push through those challenges and kind of get it right.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to know if you guys had to say something to the community out there in terms of making the journey into, let's say, beer appreciation. What are some of the thoughts that you would share? Kevin, tell us.
Wow. Okay. I would say, wow. Just start. If you want to get into craft beer, just start with what you like. Sample. So, we want to sample everything. Sample everything, and it's not it's craft beer is not cheap. I can tell you, it's not cheap. So and I guess as consumers, it's not cheap. But I guess if you want to make that your profession, I love what you guys. I think Ari was Marques. I think you guys have the school. You're teaching people to be black and brown people to go into the craft beer game. So yeah, I would say, hey, it's just you can follow your dreams, guys. You can
Follow.
yeah, Kim's better at
Marcus, tell us, what advice would you give?
I think probably for me the most important advice would be to not give up after the first sip. I discovered my favorite style of beer, which are Belgian golden ales. First sip, I hated them, and that was 12 years ago. I just hated it. It is like it's my heartbeat. It's literally one of the most beautiful styles in the world because I tried it again. So give up after the first sip and ask questions, man. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. If somebody comes in the tap room and they tell me they don't like beer, because I'm going to prove you wrong. You just didn't know which one you like. So ask questions and don't give up after the first sip, because you're going to find something that's going to change your life.
Ari.
Like I think one of my favorite sayings is like dare to fail. Don't be afraid to try new things. You don't know what you like until you try it. They say it takes a human's development a 9 trials on a flavor to decide if they like it or not. So, A, don't give up. B, there is some bad beer out there. You have a pilsner you don't like doesn't mean you don't like pilsners. I say try anything 3 times to make sure the first two weren't a fluke. And as much as I like flights or whatever, if I go to a brewery, I'll get a flight of their lightest stuff to see if I can trust them before I like go to the big stout or the big IPA or the big sour. But it really takes a good experience with the beer to like decide if you like it. It's not one sip. I don't think it's 5 ounces. I think you really can determine a quality of beer in more of that 8 ounce range. So I'm a big fan of half pints. Let your friends tour guide you. Find that mentor, find that craft beer buddy, and go find spaces. Part of how I met Curtis is I do an online beer class. And part of why I wanted it to happen was I recognized, like Kevin said, craft beer ain't cheap. So you go to a craft beer bar, get this beer, it's $7 or $8, and you don't like it. And now you have this crappy experience. You're not going to come back. You don't want to send it back because you didn't like it. It might have supposed to be like that. So part of what I was doing Backyard Bottle Share is to put beer in your hand, talk to you about it, help people learn the vocabulary of what they like and don't like. So they go into a craft beer bar or a brewery, they can say, I know that I like American hops. I know that I like the English hops because they're so floral. I know that I like barrel aging because it's a clean barrel. I know that I like, I know I like high acidity in my kettle sours. All those things, when we're able to say those things, it helps us have a better experience. So, learning that vocabulary is important. I start off with a little beer notebook. You can get them online. Here's the beer I'm trying. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. Here's how I experience this beer. And then I can learn the language. When I go into a craft beer space, I'm speaking the language. Another thing, like find someone who knows the language and let them teach you. One of my big things about when I hire bartenders, I hire curious people. Because when they're curious, they want to learn from the customer too. And a lot of times the difference in getting the perfect beer and having a great experience is a function of how well your expectations were met by what you were served, right?
Right.
So a curious person, when someone says, I'm looking for something brown. Okay, when you say brown, do you want something nutty or do you want something on the sweet side? They'll ask that second question to help that patron find the right beer for them versus just, I'm a know-it-all. This is my favorite beer. You should like what I like, and just pushing it across the bar. It's so much about touring down the experience and working together with the patron and the bartender to find the right beer for that patron.
Excellent.
I love sours. One of my new bartenders, IPA drinker, hate sours. So they're not going to pass me across the bar unless they ask me some questions, the right beer for me. And so for a long time, the industry's been about upselling and trying to get people to buy more, but I'd rather you buy the thing you like the most and come back because you like that thing in my space than you saying, oh, well, I don't like beer because this bartender sold me a $10 glass of IPA and I don't like hops.
I got you. So now we're going to close out the show, but I need to know how folks can get in touch with, let's say, Ariane Sanders. How do they do that? Or Full Steam?
Full Steam Brewery, www.fullsteam.ag, or you can just reach out to me directly, Ari, A-R-I, at fullsteam.ag, and that AG stands for agriculture, because we brew beer from the beautiful South with a focus on sustainable agriculture in the tobacco belt.
Beautiful. Good old Julian. How did they get in touch with you, man? And the Harlem Blue. Where can I pick up some?
I guess through the website, and social media portal. So harlemblue.com kind of should be able to get you through to us in all fashions.
Beautiful. Kevin, do tell. Harlem Hops.
Same. Yep. HarlemHops.com, Instagram, Facebook. We're there.
Nice. And of course, my man Marques. my new best friend.
We sell beer all over the country, man. So find us at sugarcreekbrewing.com. Or if you have any personal questions or just beer questions, you can email me at, my name is spelled ridiculous. It's my mother's fault, but MARQUES at sugarcreekbrewing.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, this is Soul Lounge Prime Time, WHCR 90.3 FM or www.whcr.org. Our guests have been tonight, Ari, Julian, Kevin, and Marques, my new best friend in North Carolina, in the house. Once again, this will be shown at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WHCR, and then again at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on, of course, YouTube. So please come and check it out. Y'all, thank you so much. Excellent show.
Thank you, Curtis.
For having us.